Did I? This is good. It's fine.
Hope you're doing well.
Good. How are you?
Good.
We have Vani ma'am with us. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, Kanika. Good to see you finally.
We have PK Rajan sir also. Good afternoon. Good evening, sir. I think, sir, you are muted, sir.
You're muted. जो बेडरूम जो उसने ऑक्यूपाई किया हुआ है शॉर्ट टर्म
I think we have Geeta ma'am with us. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Just give us a minute, we are setting up.
Surely.
Kanika, can we start? Yeah, Mr. Kanika, I'm audible.
Divak sir, you're audible.
Yeah. Geeta, good evening.
Hello. Good day.
We have Vinod sir also. Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
There is there. Sanjana madam is there. Hi, Sanjana ma'am.
Hi, Deepak ji. How are you?
Yeah. We can just start. I think so already.
Sure.
Much of people. Kanika, YouTube is live now.
Yes, sir. Still there. It's live, sir.
We can Start. Who want to start? Kanika? Who is starting? You are starting.
No, Gaurav will start. Sir, Gaurav is a volunteer. So he's been working with us from day one. So he'll continue. Gaurav, you can go ahead.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Quote.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So I would like to start while quoting a line I've read somewhere. So that line says, never try to destroy someone's life with a lie when yours could be destroyed by the truth. So after the global #MeToo movement erupted in October 2017 with millions of survivors posting to social media about their own experiences of gender-based violence, many women in India started using the hashtag to publicize their accounts of abuse. So this led to a new public scrutiny of high-profile male figures and led to some resignations and legal actions also. But as we all know, there are always two sides of every story. One such case is of Mr. Swaroop Raj sir, who was a senior executive of a multinational firm Genpact. Swaroop sir was falsely accused of sexual harassment case by two of their employees at the firm Genpact. All these allegations were baseless, and he was the victim of malicious prosecutions. And this incident inflicts the other side of the coin.
Yeah, continue.
This incident inflicts the other side of the coin.
Go on.
This incident inflicts the other side of the coin. To voice this other side, VR Saath has organized this discussion. So here we would like to present a short clip on Swaroop Raj sir. Kanika ma'am, can you please play the video?
So we have a short clip on Swaroop sir just to give a tribute. So we'll just take a minute to depict that. Prerna.
Is the audio on? Can you hear the audio?
So this was a short clip on Swaroop Raj sir, and today we have prominent speakers with us. I would like to welcome today's guest of honor, Advocate Geeta Luthra ma'am and Mrs. Vani Sharma ma'am. On behalf of VR Saath, I cordially welcome all the advocates, member of DMCI, and all the family members and friends of Swaroop Raj sir. In the fond memory of Mr. Swaroop Raj sir, today we have organized a session on malicious prosecution, searching for a balance in light of Me Too. And today we also have Mrs. Dr. Sanjana John ma'am. She is a philanthropist, social activist, motivational speaker, and international fashion designer host. I would like to request Sanjana John ma'am to take over the session.
Thank you so much, Gaurav, for that. I think everybody who saw that video, I could barely keep watching because I know the pain that the family goes through. First and foremost, let me offer my deepest regard and support to you, Sri Ramji, because I think only people who understand the pain and anguish of the family will actually know the relevance of and importance of this today. We have seen a lot, and like you said, Me Too movement is something that is all over. Rape is a heinous crime, but false rape is worse. And today, I think to throw light on that, we have some of the most relevant and I want to say the appropriate people coming forth to make sure that we throw light on this issue. And I would like to thank Deepak Prakash ji to actively bring this issue forward, because I'm seeing more and more of this rampant issue. I recently lost another friend of mine, and I myself, I've seen both sides to this. I'm still suffering from this because of my brother, and which is why I am here today to offer my wholehearted support, because I know how important it is for us to raise this issue and throw light on this. I welcome 𝔤𝔤𝔬𝔢𝔬𝔢 ji to talk on this, and once you do, I'm sure we will have the questions which can actually open up the doors to at least some of these issues. Thank you, 𝔤𝔤𝔬𝔢𝔬𝔢 ji. 𝔤𝔤𝔬𝔢𝔬𝔢 ji.
Should I? So we are here today as a sign of homage to Mr. Swaraj Raj, Sarup Raj. And I am feeling humbled and honored to be here for the reason that here is a person who became a victim of what has become rampant today. And it is for this reason that I feel honored that you have asked me to speak, and I would hope that I can do some justice to the departed soul. Today's day, media has taken over, and this is from time immemorial. The whole issue of media trials has been going on for past many centuries, has been subject matter of debate in the US, has been subject matter of discussion by very erudite judges of the UK Supreme Court, UK House of Lords, then Supreme Court now, including judgments by Lord Denning. So the issue before us is, how do we prevent a person being implicated, rightly or wrongly, and thereafter a harm to the reputation of that person or good name of that person? So it is in this context that I want to speak about malicious prosecution, both as a criminal law remedy and as a civil remedy for damages. Of course, the context of this talk is painful, and the homage to the memory of Mr. Sarup Raj should keep in mind a balance between what we think is the most important grand norm of all norm, which is the rule of law. The rule of law mandates that no man should be condemned unheard. The rule of law mandates that every person is innocent unless he is proved guilty. The rule of law has to ensure that there may be an accused, there will be a victim. The question is the accused actually an accused, or is the accused a victim? If we take into perspective that every person is innocent unless he is proved to be guilty, then in perspective will be this, that the reputation of that person needs to be saved. And I begin with a quote from the Supreme Court judgment by Justice Deepak Mishra, where a constitution bench of the Supreme Court upheld criminal defamation. When I speak in reference to criminal defamation, I want to say that in many countries of the world where criminal defamation existed, it has been abolished. However, in India, criminal defamation continues to hold the field, was upheld, even though initially when the court entertained the matter, it was of a view, a prima facie view, that criminal defamation should be abolished. And it had come to us as a part of the heritage which we got from our Canadian masters, the United Kingdom. But after seeing in perspective the delays of laws in India, the extent that our people are irresponsible in making statements, the extent of abuse of the right of freedom of speech and expression by certain sections of society, the Supreme Court said that criminal defamation should continue on the statute book. Now, in the light of this judgment of the Supreme Court, I want to refer to 2-3 quotations from Justice Deepak Mishra and one sentence which I see running as a thread through cases of defamation. For a person, his reputation may be more important than life itself. So for me, my reputation, which I build day after day, which I nurture minute to minute to ensure that it isn't blemished, can in one move, one stroke, by an inimical person, by a person who may have malice or who may have reason, by one stroke, it can be destroyed. So, for example, take the case of rape victims. Rape victims cannot be named, but rape accused can be. And that Supreme Court has said in one of its judgments, normally they are women-centric, but in one judgment, I think it was Raju or Rajesh Patel by the Supreme Court, it said that the ignominy of being an accused in a case, even after you are acquitted, is something which cannot be washed away. You may get acquitted, but what good is the acquittal if it has besmirched your name? If it has lost you your job, it has lost you your life, it has lost you your family, it has made your family go into penury, it has made them not be able to get the education which you had dreamt of. It will not restore your good name, because whereas your defamation would be on the front page of a newspaper, your acquittal or discharge may or may not be in 2 lines in an insignificant part of a newspaper. So I quote from Justice Deepak Mishra, when reputation is hurt, a man is half dead. It is an honor which deserves to be equally preserved by the downtrodden and the privileged. The aroma of their reputation is an excellence which cannot be allowed to be sullied with the passage of time. The throwing out of malicious imputations against any character leaves a stain after which no after reputation can wipe out. To create an unfavorable impression, it is not necessary that certain things should be true, but that they have been said. The imagination is of so delicate a texture that even words wound it. Now, this is what I want to say. No one should have to lose their life. No one should have to succumb to a person sullying your reputation, which you have built over so much time. And for this, there has to be law which has to come in place where even the victims can get anonymity. In certain cases, it may be true. The accusations may be true. In many cases, the accusations may be false. When the Me Too movement came to the US, we must remember that their law of defamation is extremely strong. The moment that a newspaper is bringing out an article, its investigative journalism will be to the extreme. It knows that in terms of damages, in terms of reputation, it will be virtually wiped out in case what it is saying is not well researched and is false. In India, there is no such sense of responsibility. I can name case after case where there have been media trials, and those media trials have sullied a person's reputation without waiting whether the person is innocent or guilty. I look at the Arushi murder case. The person said guilty, not guilty. The state and the prosecution itself could not make up its mind. In the meantime, the reputation of that family was sullied and spoiled. In the meantime, they were wrecked. And the fact is, can it ever be restored? It is impossible to restore a reputation once sullied. It has to take a very strong heart for a person to survive an accusation, particularly where the accusation is false. And that is why I say that it is with a great sense of responsibility that any newspaper, any journalist endeavor should carry any story. So it is not to say that newspapers and journalists and articles don't sometimes serve a good purpose. They do. But the question then is, can there be or should media trial be permitted despite the Law Commission having given guidelines, despite the Supreme Court having given guidelines? In India, we do a complete trial by media. That trial by media should not be permitted. That naming and shaming an alleged victim should not be permitted, because that accused may not get back his reputation even when he is acquitted or discharged. Two interesting examples in the last month, 2 months come to my mind. One is the Markaz congregation, the meeting of the Jamaat in Nizamuddin. And the question which has come up in the last 2 days, when there has been an acquittal by a Saket court, holding that perhaps these 5 people who stood trial were not even there. So the question of them, the question whether they had COVID or they could cause infection would be something different. That those clauses were dropped even at the stage of framing charge. The Foreigners Act charge was dropped at the stage of framing of charge. There was no evidence. But these accused were picked up from other locations and were made accused. So they had to face the ignominy of being incarcerated and getting thereafter acquitted by an acquittal which the judge Atul Garg of Saket Court has said there was no evidence. And the investigation was shoddy and they were just being implicated. Now, should such a case not attract malicious prosecution 182 as well as 195 committing perjury? The court notes that the SHO has committed perjury. The court notes that what he says, I was going to the markets every day, and then he says he can identify all the 900 odd people who were allegedly there. They were alleged women in burqa. He says they weren't wearing masks when they are in burqa. How will you know they are wearing masks? So what is the effect? The effect is a public perception, a blitzkrieg by a social media, and I am not distinguishing necessarily between media, social media, publication by mouth, publication by complaint, because ultimately all of these make and create a narrative which may be false. And if it is false and it ruins somebody's life, somebody's reputation, and creates, in fact, creates disinfection if it's targeted against someone, one person community, then this itself is extremely, extremely dangerous and unfortunate. Now I come to the second case, and what I find very significant in this case is that 906 people pleaded guilty through plea bargaining just so that they could return to the foreign country where they had come from. Sorry?
I think there is some disturbance. Kindly mute everyone.
Can you please mute others? Please mute others. Some interruption.
Geeta ma'am, you continue.
All right. Now, this was one judgment which I thought was very significant in the last 2-3 days. Allahabad and Bombay High Courts have given same orders of quashing and of holding that this case has been completely a miscase. Now, there is a second case which I thought is significant and which is also in the last 2-3 months. The Nambiar case, the case of the ISRO scientist, Nambiar, am I right? Yes. And his case, yes, Nambi. And in his case, the important aspect is 22 years is what it took him to get, some justice. And in a token, I believe what has been exemplary order, the court says, Supreme Court says in Nambi Narayan's 50 lakh fine, 50 lakh compensation which has been given. So the question in his case was, they found that there is nothing, and yet there was an order of reinvestigation. Again, nothing was found. The state supported it, and yet one way or the other, to vindicate himself, it has taken 22 years.
Madam.
Geeta ma'am, we can't hear you.
Lost the voice.
We lost your voice, Geeta ma'am. No, Geeta ma'am is not muted.
Ma'am, we missed your audio.
Yeah, we cannot hear you, Geeta ji. I think there is a lack of volume out. I don't know. There's some sound problem there, but I would like to address that. Yes, Geeta ji, what you said is very relevant, and in this condition, press plays a major part. The hyped up media trial is what actually destroys the person, even before actually getting to trial. But in a country like India, thankfully, it's not a jury. At least you have a judge. But in a country like the United States, where it's the jury, the hyped up media trial can actually destroy the person. And one of the points that I would like to address is that the media is not as stringent as you expressed. The US media can be quite frivolous as well. We have seen that, and they do go as per what the prosecution gives. Most of what you see in the media is normally given from the prosecution side. So whatever press release goes from the prosecutor's office is what is normally printed. So it's a very difficult part for the alleged counterparty to come up with anything. So media, according to me, is one of the most important and significant players in actually routing the case. And before the trial, most of the public and people have already decided that the person is guilty. Now, coming back to the main thing, whether it is the accused, the alleged victim, let it be anybody, I think it's important to make sure that there is privacy, and the name disclosure should definitely be prevented, or we should make sure that it's not, because it's not just that one person, the entire family goes through pain, trauma, and the trial. So this is one thing I think everybody should look at, coming up with a more stringent enforcement of the law to make sure that there is more privacy when these cases are there. Coming back to the fact that today, we are Saath organizing this to actually bridge the gap between the two narratives, where the standing of a victim and abuser interchange quite frequently. This is a very important memorial for Mr. Swaroop Raj, as we all said. And we have the father of Swaroop Raj, P.K. Rajan, here joining us. And once again, it's...
One second. Geeta madam not concluded, na? She's not concluded, I think. In between, she's missed, na?
No.
Okay, yeah, do we have the volume back?
Yeah.
I don't know. You tell me if the volume is clear.
Yeah, now we can hear you, Geeta ji.
Yes.
You can hear me?
It's clear now.
Okay, just let me know. Just let me know if the volume's not clear, and we'll do something about it.
Yeah.
It's clear now. You can continue.
It's clear now. It's clear now, ma'am.
It's clear? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now, after I talked about the Nambi Narayan case, which I was talking about, and in which context I wanted to say that it is very rare that a person has the grit and the means to continue to fight for justice. I've come across many clients who, when they start out, they say, look, this injustice has been done to me. And after the case is over, I want you to sue for malicious prosecution and damages. But by the time litigation is over, the litigation fatigue sets in so badly. They have been so bruised by the litigation They have been so injured and fractured by going to vindicate their name that they say, sorry, now we don't want to contest any longer. We don't want you to file malicious prosecution. At least we are getting away with folded hands and thanking that we will never have to go back into this system to get justice. Now let's look at the Me Too movement. I want to look at the Me Too movement because the Me Too movement names and shames without actually having any case in place necessarily. So you come after 10 years, you come after 20 years, you come after 30 years. And unlike the US, where you are investigating, you have a series of 200, 300, 400 cases, 10 cases, 20 cases, where you have empirical evidence of what you are saying. You just come and blame a person and name the person. And I can't name any X or Y. We know one, for example, well-known actor, one or two well-known actors in Bollywood. Cases, accusations against them were made. After they got bail, the matter was resolved and said, leave it. It was done after 30 years or 40 years of people knowing each other. What kind of evidence can there be? What kind of trial can there be? Without a trial, just through Twitter, through social media, you bring something into a public domain, blame a person who at one time may have been a colleague, friend, superior, junior, associate. This cannot be permitted. This should not be permitted because you are actually sullying a good person's name at a wrong time when even the statute of limitation would not be there, when the person will have no means to defend. And when you are in a court of law, you will have, for example, an opportunity to box back or argue back or defend yourself. But in social media, who do you defend yourself with? How do you save a reputation? On the other hand, the court says no gag orders, because the moment that you do a gag order, then you are really stifling right to freedom of speech and expression. So the question then is, on one hand, you have media trials. On another, you have your right to freedom of speech and expression, both of which are citadels of democracy. And on the other hand, you have the right of a person's reputation. That person cannot file in a media world. That person cannot go to, he or she may be able to make a statement against A or B, but can that person file a case against the social media? Can the person, even if he files against Twitter or Google, can the person then go to each person where their reputation has been sullied and explain it? It can't be. That is why any accusation has to be made carefully. Any accusation, if made falsely, has to have very strict penal consequences. So the law, unfortunately, has not brought in the amendments which have been proposed in the law by the Law Commission of India in its 277th report, which is I believe by Justice Chauhan in 2018. Those recommendations, if they had been accepted, if those recommendations had come in, perhaps people would become a little more cautious. When the sexual harassment of workplace case, enactment was coming into place, one of the clauses that was being suggested in Parliament and by the minister was to have strong repercussions and penal consequences for those who were making false complaints. But the argument then was made was that then women would be scared of making complaints. And that would have a counter effect. Ultimately, we want women to come out into the public domain and speak up. We want them to have a voice. But if they feel that they will be penalized if they are not able to prove their case, they will be scared to come. So to my mind, very recently, someone asked for cause, and the court said, this will send a wrong signal. Now, why will it send a wrong signal? It will not send a wrong signal if there are two grounds on which a person can be taken action against for malicious prosecution. One, there is malice. Two, no reasonable person would come to that conclusion. So every acquittal will not result in a person being able to file for malicious prosecution. It is only those which are actuated by malice and those which have no basis at all. Very recently, Delhi High Court, a case called Prempal, where a person had been made accused in 18 different cases. And the police does this because they want to show they've solved a problem. So instead of one case, the moment they get a victim like this, they start making them accused in every case, in 18 different cases. And the Delhi High Court came strongly down and said that this person's entitled to damages. Supreme Court in 1985 in Rudal 83, in Rudal Shah also noted this and said, in that case, the court gave 50,000 damages and said that, however, this person's been so badly made and accused, suffered ignominy, been incarcerated for so long, we are giving a token amount of 50,000, but he has his right to go for compensation. But the time you go for compensation, you are crippled. Your family is crippled. So I was just talking when my voice had gone off of that POXO case where the persons finally got acquitted after 5-6 years, couldn't afford counsel. So it was done pro bono. And in the meantime, he had to send his children to the orphanage. He couldn't even afford the 15 rupees municipal corporation fees for the tuition. They were pulled out of school. His wife was assaulted by a neighbor because everyone knew that the husband was there. And the man has now been acquitted. But of course, freedom is very important to everybody, the very fact that he's free. But many people just move out of the place where they are living because they, as accused, they can't afford. They leave their jobs, they move out, they go and live in some kind of anonymity. So the fact is that what are the remedies we have? The remedies are too few, are non-expensive, are hardly ever enforced, are financially crippling. So if you file for civil for damages, you'll have to put court fees, you'll have to have an expensive litigation machinery. If you file criminal case for malicious prosecution, for wrong statements, you can file for contempt. For wrong statements, you can file 195. You can file 211 for giving wrong evidence under the criminal law. You can file 340 proceedings for perjury. But the fact is that the courts are so overburdened that even if you have the energy to file, the courts will be chary because they don't want to increase the already burdened court system. So we have an extremely unfortunate situation. To my mind, anyone making a statement, anyone doing a forward has to think twice. Anybody who goes on Twitter and does a repeat of what has been said because it looks attractive has to try and see prima facie evidence. Is there evidence, or is someone's good name being maligned in what may appear to be an attractive story or an interesting story or a salacious story? Because ultimately, we all feed on what is newsworthy. And while feeding on what is newsworthy, we do not realize how important a reputation is to any human being. Having said that, let me once again pay my homage to the departed soul. Thank you.
Thank you, 𝔤𝔢𝔬𝔪 ji. That was really very enlightening. And I'm sure that a lot of people would have seen how they can tackle or at least understand this situation better. In today's day and world, a lot of our brothers, husbands, even fathers are at risk because of this malicious movement. And as much as it is or it can be malicious. I've been reading a lot of the comments in the chats as well. A lot of people do have the perception it is both sides. The women, it's more of violence. And you do see that a lot of these people, the victims, don't even speak out. Whereas in definitely for men, I think if they've been, under the pressure or the stress, the way to deal with is to come up to some kind of legal solace or solution, which ultimately I think is kind of not balanced today. And this is not just in India. Globally, even in the US, you'll see sites like 𝔂𝔬𝔬𝔢𝔬𝔬𝔢, which actually says that more than 50% of the rape allegations in the US are also false. So this is something that we have to be very aware of, because it's not just about just accusing blatantly and throwing something out there, but if somebody realizes the kind of impact that it has. And today is actually a very relevant day, since it is paying homage, and this memorial is to make others understand the gravity of the situation. For somebody, it might just be about a media story or getting back or taking revenge, but for the family of the person, it's much more than that. You lose the person, or the person who's subjected to being in prison for years. It is something traumatic, tragic, and it's a travesty of justice. So it's important for every one of us to understand that. And on that note, I would quickly like to bring in Vani Sharma ji. You've been working on such issues, and it's important to see your perspective, because to understand this better, we need to see the side of people who have been working with the victims and people who have gone through this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanjana. And I am going to start off by saying that I owe a huge thank you to VR Saath for inviting me over here for talking about something that started off as a passion and became a career for me. But definitely the reason as to why we are here today is something that my heart goes out to Swaroop Raj's family. Extremely painful to see parents, families face such troublesome incidents. And there is a lot that we need to work out together in order to ensure that there aren't any more cases like Swaroop's. But that definitely is a pipe dream, and the reason for that is the mainstay of the work that I do. The major tool that I work with is the Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, or the POSH Act as we call it. This particular act is, unfortunately, I'm sure all of you have heard about this already or must have read the main components of the act overall. But because of a lot of reasons, the sexual harassment of women at workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act of 2013 is a toothless tiger to a large extent. Because of certain sections, certain aspects of it that have not been solidified and have not been put into place with proper forethought. Since I have about 15 minutes, I'm not going to go into how exactly the act was constituted. I think all of us know Bhavri Devi's case. We all know Vishakha guidelines. We all know that the act itself came out of the Vishakha guidelines, and that there was an amendment to it in 2000. Can you all hear me?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about those aspects that are critical from a game-changing perspective, those aspects which actually need to be looked at in an extremely critical manner, so that the act itself becomes strong. And not only that, people who face malicious charges, fraudulent charges, have some recourse to it under the law. 𝔤𝔤𝔪𝔐 ji spoke a lot about the challenges and the possible recourse that we have, but I'm going to start right at the beginning. I have issues with the fact that the POSH Act of 2013 needs to become gender neutral at the first instance. As of now, as of today, it only listens to one gender. There are other, the LGBTQIA plus categories, but the underlying aspect is that the act itself and its remedies are available only to women at this point of time. And as we have seen in multiple cases and multiple instances, it is not only women who face problems of this kind. I have myself dealt with multiple cases where the victims have been, or the complainants wanted to raise issues and they were not women. So that is one aspect that I want lawyers, organizations to reach out and create a voice for with the Supreme Court of India. The second that is very, very critical and right now missing is that there are no standard operating procedures as far as training of those people who are in constant touch with or approach complainants or respondents or victims. Over and over again, since the time that this act came into picture or enforcement, I have seen the Internal Complaints Committee, now known as the IC, lack in not being trained in empathy, not being trained in fact-finding. It hits out at the absolute base principles of natural justice. If I am a person who is facing a particular complaint, regardless of which gender I am, I want somebody who is well trained, and I'm speaking about this from the MNC or the official organization's perspective. There is no mandate as far as the act itself is concerned to quantify the number of days or the kind of training, or there is a manual I give you that. But how has it been enforced? What are the kind of people? There are multiple thousands of shops today selling the POSH Act as a training course without actually having gone through a mandatory number of cases, or fact finding for a number of cases, or understanding the reporting requirements or the requirements of the victim or the complainant or the person who is facing the charges. There needs to be a training specified by the government of India, specific to empathy and handling of victim interactions or complainant interactions. This is something that I have been trying to put a voice for a long time. But unfortunately, this is not something that the GOI has picked up so far. The other aspect that I want to pick up again is that confidentiality has been mentioned in the Act as something that is extremely critical. But unfortunately, there is no way of understanding how exactly are organizations enforcing confidentiality. Who are they closed door meetings? What is the mechanism of documentation? Who is the documentation shared with? What kind of mechanism is available to the person concerned, the victim or the complainant or the respondent? So these are question marks. If there is a conflict of interest in cases where the complainant and the respondent have been in a relationship prior to the complaint being filed, or if they had conflicting business or other interests, is that something that is mandatorily taken into account when the case is being investigated? Is a question mark. I have found gaps in several cases which I have come in as an external consultant for. Also a gap is that, a major gap is that if people come from different organizations, is there an interim joint complaint committee that can be formed? There is nothing absolutely in the Act that specifies any of this. Another thing that is very, very critical and is a gap today, a very visible gap, is that there are no SOPs or standard operating procedures to assist the IC in enforcing its powers as a civil court. The POSH Act actually says that the IC or the Internal Complaints Committee has powers as strong and stringent as a civil court does. But what are those powers and how can they be enforced? To what extent can I take a decision? All of these are question marks as of today. Another thing that I have already, that Geeta ji also picked up, is that complainants have very less avenues to learn how to manage mental stress, their financial problems, or the social humiliation that they go during a case investigation. I have found extreme cases of depression as far as complainants are concerned, but I have found an equal number of cases where people who have been falsely accused or are at this point of time during the case stating that they are not respondents, no coaching or mentoring is available for them. They are not encouraged to reach out to their families. They are not encouraged to speak about the case with anyone. But is there something like one-to-one help.net made available to them? Is a specified coach made available to them? Is anybody asking them, what are you going through? If there is a person who is found to have raised a false complaint, the law is again closed on what are the stringent deterrents. There is no guideline and it is left to the IC. I could give a 1 month salary. I could suspend the person. I could give a demotion. I could give a monetary penalty. There is no stringent stage-wise guideline that is available to people. And it's extremely painful for the person who is facing all of this. In 2014, when this particular act came out across the country, when we were doing brainstorming, we found men are always wrong and that is under such circumstances or under such scenarios as one of the major underlying thought processes. It has taken us a lot of time for us and a lot of cases to be discussed in open forums for people to start believing that women may and can try to exact revenge against a fellow employee, or they might try to bring down the name of the company, or they might try to take advantage of the conciliation process, or they might try to gain public sympathy, or exact revenge for for personal relationships gone wrong. They could try to get promotions or other perks. Such scenarios are not brought about as far as the general training or coaching mechanism is concerned. Another aspect is what happens if the non-disclosure agreement that I sign at the beginning is violated. The act is silent on that and leaves everything to the IC again in a convenient manner, and anybody could decide on anything. So organizations, if you look at it, are living in naive optimism because there is a lack of an auditory mechanism from the government of India, and there is a lack of any punitive measures, or there is a lack of guidelines as far as the act itself is concerned. Another thing that is very critical is that for ICs, for people, if there is a complaint that is being raised, there is no central database of cases that teaches a person that this is the manner in which a case has to be solved. It's extremely demoralizing to see some of the cases being managed, heard in open rooms, in open places, and no thought being given to confidentiality. There is no backtracking as far as any auditory organization is concerned, which goes back and says, if you are a particular organization and you heard this case, what are the measures that you took in order to resolve this or find the facts? Why did you take a particular decision? So there is a complete lack of questioning. And the last that I'm going to round this particular conversation off with is that there is a complete dearth as of now to understand that every organization needs to, in its annual report, announce the number of cases that were raised in a particular year and how many were resolved. Unfortunately, again, because of the fact that one, the act itself is toothless, and two, there are no audits that are happening. It's very easy for organizations to just slide under the belt and interpret the act in any manner possible. So these are the areas specifically that I wanted to bring to the discussion table. I think there is a very tiny ray of hope that since Geeta ji mentioned one of the cases, I'd like to mention another one, that there is a case that was raised on 9th July 2019, and this was the High Court of Delhi, Anita Suresh versus the Union of India. And one judgment, single judgment that we have related to sexual harassment at the workplace, where the court had imposed a fine of 50,000 rupees on a woman for filing a false complaint of sexual harassment at her workplace. This is from the India Today 2010 and the Hindu 2010. But let me be very honest that whatever legal recourse one takes, by the time a false complaint gets negated and proven as false or fraudulent, people's lives can be destroyed. And there is no way that you can walk back this street and wipe out what one has done on a malicious note. So there is no use asking people not to be malicious or not to be fraudulent or not to raise a false complaint, because that falls under a person's own ethics. But support for the complainant is widely available. Support for the victim, unfortunately, is there, but for the person who is looked at as the respondent, I have found that people are just left high and dry. So I would definitely want the coin to be flipped in the air, and for some kind of kindness, some kind of empathy, training for managers and for the IC to become mandatory, and for the law to pick up these points and to add areas that will strengthen the way of justice. So with that, I'd like to wind this up. And once again, I'd like to thank VR Saath for calling me over here today. This is one voice that I have wanted to share and raise for a long time. And this is the first of the panels which has actually spoken about things from the victim's perspective. And that is extremely critical and important. I hope there are no more cases like Swaroop's. And I hope that the law will pick up whatever the gaps are and close them as soon as possible, because the requirement for closing these has long gone. I mean, the time period is long lost. So on that note, I wind up my keynote address. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you, Vani Sharma ji. That was, again, really something that I think all of us needed to know. And like you said, awareness and making people understand how to deal with things is very important. And a lot of times it is lack of awareness that creates or actually highlights and, you know, enhances the problem. And again, coming back to the most important reason why we are all here today. We have Mr. P.K. Rajan, father of Swaroop Raj, with us today. And we would really want to hear a few words from you. Please, Mr. Rajan, we would love to hear from you.
I don't know how I have to start.
It's 5 o'clock.
Mr. P.K. Rajan?
Yes.
We would love to hear a few words from you.
As everyone knows, I'm a grief-stricken father.
The volume.
So I'm not a good speaker, but I am feeling loss of my son. This is actually, I know very well my son. He is not a person like that. You know, he cannot think bad things to others, especially for girls and women, because ourselves, we respect women, girls, and all of others. So you cannot think, even think to do wrong things to others. Because that was not the motive of Swaroop, because we came to Delhi for working and earn the money to live. He was very much dedicated to the company and his job, unto his job. He was a family love person. He was very, very much loving parents and brother and other family members. He cannot do any wrong things. This was a conspiracy for, they done it to keep someone, because there's a conspiracy. There was other people also sitting with him. 2-3 times he himself told me that, you know, that I don't know, there was not only 2 ABPs, but there was 3. So Swaroop himself told me that, you know, sometime, I don't know, kitne log rahega, kaun jayega pata nahi. But Swaroop had the confidence that, you know, that he will not go out from the job, because he was a stellar performer. He joined with that company in 2007, and since 2008 till the end, the last day, he won the Best Performer Award. So he had the confidence that, you know, he didn't want to quit the job. So there was a conspiracy to keep the other man. I know who is that. I don't want to disclose that name here. I know the man who was created the conspiracy. These girls actually played a bad drama, ugly drama. There was nothing. I know, I seen that girl at my home. I know Swaroop cannot think like that. I cannot think. He's my son. He was a nice, decent guy. There was a conspiracy. The police doesn't done the job properly. Simply they given the FR. Somewhere they mentioned that while doing investigation, yes, this is a case of abetment. After few days, the same police said that there is no evidence. So we can understand what was the plan, how they played. I would say that the police have been influenced. This is true. Because the police already written somewhere. I have that paper. Yes, this is an abetment case. While doing investigation, we got the evidence. So after a few days, where gone the evidence? Where is the evidence? So ultimately the police is done ugly drama in this case. Now what is now we cannot blame anyone. The corona is there. Cases every month, the cases postponed. Now the case is coming in Noida court by January 22nd or something. So I would say that the company still keeping these culprits. The company is feeding them. So what company is this? They say they are giving very big advertisement that it is very ethics company, human बड़े कंपनी है करके जो है ना इन लोग बोलते जाते, but इन लोग they are doing very bad way. This is a gundaism. There is a gundaism. There is a team of gunda. This is not I am not telling by emotion. This is the truth I am telling. This company is not we cannot count as a reputed company. This is a bad company. The bad company means it's a there is a lot of gundas inside of that company. Still the company is feeding them. The company is providing legal support, financial support, salary, bonus, everything. They haven't taken any. 11 years Swaroop worked for that company as a continuously best performer. Every year he was in the top 20s. Even they couldn't ask any word. They should ask Swaroop what is the truth? What is the truth? They haven't. Suddenly they called Swaroop and asked to submit the laptop, the identity card, and go away. Where did these girls come? When these girls come? Have the company had any inquiry on them? The company asked, company done any inquiry previous stories of the girls? No. That also they have to think this thing. 11 years somebody worked there as a best performer and they are suspending within few hours. The girls come last year only. Also, they have to see some. I heard that I had some papers also. The girls, that it done the same way. They act same way in previous companies also. So, what the company is done? This is unacceptable. This is not human. There is no humanity. There is no ethics. Nothing. I don't know. I am not able to. Even I got that I am fighting against them. I got threatening to my life. I cannot live in Delhi these days because I don't know when they will attack me. because I am fighting against them. It is very sad. What I can ask the help of you. That's all. I lost my son. I'm in a big, that sad condition. Of course, the good people are with me. That's why I'm living. I'm fighting against the company. I will fight. I'm not going to spare them at any loss. I will fight till the end. No doubt, I'm not going to spare them. They actually, the people use the girls. That is what I am understanding. This petition, this complaint was they fabricated. We can easily understand if we are reading it, we can understand it's a scripted. They scripted the story very well. They are thinking, but it is not very well. It is very bad. This is what I have to. I need help of all of you. Please help me to fight against the company and the culprits. They are culprits. They are very, very, very bad people. This is what I want to say.
We are all with you, PK Rajanji. Your words, I can totally, I'm sure, everybody here, I could see so many people wiping tears as they were listening to you. And I think everyone is here from their heart because they know, they believe, and they are with you in this fight for truth and justice. It's a very, very tough fight. But you know what? We need you to be strong because you are the voice. You are the voice for Swaroop now. And you need to be the one to prove and to show the world that truth prevails. And even if you're a minority of one, truth is still the truth. And I'm sure you have all of us. I mean, everybody here today is here to support you. And in this fight, I'm sure that truth and justice will prevail. And we thank you for those words. And I saw 𝔬𝔤𝔬𝔢𝔬𝔢. I mean, so many people have come in support for this particular thing because they all believe in you and in Swaroop. Mrs. Barka Trahan, Ms. Jyoti Tiwari, 𝔬𝔤𝔬𝔢𝔬𝔢. I think everyone is here. Michael, everyone is here in this fight for you. So I again want to emphasize on that point that truth will prevail. And Deepak Prakashji, who I have known is one of the true beacons of light for such causes, you have the right people here. 𝔬𝔤𝔬𝔢𝔬𝔢, I think you wanted to say something. I saw you raising your hand. Is there something that you would like to express?
Yeah, that was when, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
So that was when Miss Vani Sharma was talking about the different loopholes that the law has. So there is one thing that is not being followed by the corporate, and that is giving interim measures even to the respondents. So complainants are given, their due rights, their due everything. But when it comes to respondents, there is no way. I have been consulting with almost 25 to 30 companies now as a government resource person, and it has become very difficult for corporates and especially IC committee, who takes the charge of, giving justice, so-called justice to the men or the respondents in this case. They don't believe that men cannot do such things. The sense of misandry is so well built inside our minds that anything that happens with regards to violence, sex, or rape or anything, it will be initiated by men. That has been understood. And this is the reason why we have got such cases. I'm thankful to Uncle. I'm sorry, I can't call you sir because I feel there's a connection between us. And we are sad for this, that, when this platform, and I got a call with the reference of Jyoti Tiwari. She is somebody whom I look up to all the time because she has counseled around 7,000 to 8,000 men running a men's center in Noida. So these are the people because of which the cause has come up to this place. So we all should come together, and only then there will be some sense of neutrality, some sense of giving justice and not gender justice to anyone. That is what I feel.
You're so right, Sneha. You're absolutely right. It's about justice and not gender justice. Male or female, it does not matter. If there is injustice, it is not gender centric, and we should
not gender centric. And gynocentrism should evade. I'm
totally, I agree with you. We have a few more people that I would like to quickly, express their feelings and words. Lavinia Natai has joined us from the US. Lavinia, what are your thoughts? I would like you to quickly say a few words.
Hi, everybody. Actually, I'm joining from Switzerland. So I heard about this case on LinkedIn. Somebody posted about the victim. And then I found about the father, and I had a small discussion with the father. And of course, I'm deeply sorry. And what I can say also from my personal experience is that employees should be careful. They work hard. We are loyal to the company. But the company only likes you as long as you work hard for them. The only people who are totally devoted to you are your family. So let's understand this reality. Otherwise, as I wrote in a comment, I think the only solution can come from education and society. Mothers should educate their sons to respect women, and fathers should educate and encourage their daughters to respect men. Women and men should respect each other, support each other, and society should encourage justice, equal opportunities. So we should not expect companies, the media, to bring a solution. The solution can only come from us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lavinia. It really means a lot to hear that even people from other parts of the world are understanding. And this is a global issue. This is not confined to just India. It is a global issue. And we should all actually unilaterally look at a way out of this. I think Ravi Anandji wanted to say something. Could we quickly have your thoughts on this, Ravi Anandji?
Thank you so much, for inviting me for this. I think, the very important part of my career with the same company. I worked with Swaroop for 2 years. And, I feel that he was not that guy. And first of all, we were talking about trainings and stuff. I've been part of the learning and development teams. And one thing I can tell you that it is one aspect that you can get the training, but the real aspect is how to follow that training. People go through ethics trainings every day in these corporations. I think the day Swaroop would have joined, I was part of that organization doing learning and development trainings for, everybody in the organization. And we do those trainings ourselves. We tell people that you have to raise your voices, but raise them when they're right. You have to talk to people to be able to strengthen your confidence if you're, really fighting for the righteous and not for the wrong, right? We also talked about laws and stuff. I can't tell you, me, myself, I have, when this case happened, I was in Canada and I'm still in Canada. So, I've moved from India. When this case happened, the first thing that, literally crossed my mind was that I was an assistant vice president in the same organization. 3 o'clock in the night, I would drop my female colleagues to their homes. What if this would have literally happened at that time to me? Somebody would have just said something and my whole family life would have been ruined, and I have 2 daughters. Think about it. And I can very well understand what the family is going through right now. The way things have turned out in this particular case, I have no words to explain, how things have actually further ahead, what will happen. Nobody knows. Because see, we're fighting against the system, we're fighting against corporate, and we are fighting against something which is wrong. And wrong has a tendency, it has a tendency to go on and on and on because it has support from the law. We as humans are fighting for, and we as humans are fighting against the law. Think about it. This is the way things have turned out to be in a country which has always respected women. We never had a word for divorce in our Hindi language. Can you believe that? That is the country that we belong to. If our culture didn't have a word for divorce, what do you think about the culture and the way things have, progressed to this level? And it is all thanks to social media that we are literally talking about people like Swaroop Raj. My 2 years of interaction with this guy, the most humble person would never, leave a colleague in a limbo. Never, ever. I can never imagine that he went through all this, and wherever he is, I seriously feel that he should be in a state of forgiveness for this society, literally. And I simply can't say any words to uncle and auntie and the family because, we are ourselves the culprits of making this society the way it is today. And social media literally, defames. I would not even use the word defame. It literally murders the very fabric of our culture, in today's time. And I'm telling you that thought, when it crossed my mind that this could have happened to me or anybody who literally helped those female colleagues in that organization. And thankfully so, I have worked with that organization for almost 10 years. And I feel, the organization is not wrong. The people might be wrong. This is my belief. The organization, the name itself might not be wrong because we come from a very strong root of, an organization called GE, right? So that root is not that wrong at all. It's the people who are wrong, who have done wrong to this individual. I personally know him from those days when, he was not even an assistant vice president, he was a senior manager. And I believe, if a person of that culture can go through this, the kind of family, listen to the words of the father, right? He is not using any strong words. He's just simply saying, I'll fight. That's it. Listen, it is all that is happening because we do not take ourselves as the most strong, we are not the most strongest of the species. We fall like cards. Literally, we fall like cards when things like this happen. Somebody who's a trainer, myself, for 20 years, if this would have happened when I was in the organization and Swaroop was my colleague and stuff like this, I would have literally lost it the same moment. Because we go through the same thing every day. We talk to those people every day. I wouldn't have literally spoken to those people, and maybe I would have left the organization just because of this. And thankfully so, I left the organization before all of this happened. But think about it, if it would have happened for the time I was there, I would not have spoken to a lot of people just because I knew the kind of person Swaroop was. I wouldn't have spoken to those girls. I wouldn't have spoken to the senior management. And I wouldn't have faced those people just because of the person Swaroop was and is still in spirit with us. Thank you so much. And I just say that, I want to express my gratitude to Uncle for taking it so strongly. And I wish him that he, gets the solution to this and helps the society. Just understand that it's not a person, it's the people who wronged that individual person. Thank you so much. Thanks. I can just say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi Anandji. That really, it was an insight to seeing what a beautiful human being Swaroop Ji was. And yeah, he lives with the thoughts. And I'm sure the main purpose is to make sure that we fight to make sure his name is cleared, because it's not just important for him, but for every other person whose name gets maligned in cases like this. And this movement is something that we should all unanimously step up, in a manner to take forward to make sure that this does not happen to more brothers or sons or husbands, because this is actually the worst thing that could happen. Deepak Ji, Deepak Prakash Ji, thank you, Ravi Anand Ji, because that was very touching what you said. Deepak Prakash Ji, I would like a few words from you on the same subject.
Thank you, Sanjana Ji. Actually, just my experience. This is around 26 years I am in this profession. Before I am reaching to Delhi, in my memory, around more than 34-35 cases belong to this aspects I did in lower courts regarding this rape or allegations or harassment and other things. Unfortunately, I am recollecting around 34 and a half. One is a minor girl. Out of that, I can very well say that almost everything was false. False means they are going for some different issues. Okay, first they are given assurance for marriage, then it is not happen. Some cases are after 1 or 2 children. The gender balance must be there, and balance must be there. I have no doubt. Lot of issues are happening in both the sides. Both the sides it is happening, but getting justice to one side, it is always illegal. It is injustice totally. So a justice balance must be there in all sense. The latest, I think some of my colleagues already here, Prerna all know, we handled a case in last year. So when that lady from Kashmir, she's coming with a huge allegation against her husband and parents and all, and ultimately, I asked my lady colleagues to handle this case, and they are saying that it is false. And even there is injuries in that lady's private parts also. After a due discussion with all these things, it was self-inflicted wounds, and extremely sorry because of where the clients are coming and what they're doing. As a lawyer, I cannot do the postmortem. Any lawyers cannot do the postmortem. What is the client is saying, accordingly we have to go ahead with that. That case was like that. Yesterday also we got another issue. Everywhere there's two sides are there. Whatever the rights available, freedom available to the both, there's a balance. Gender balance must be there. I am saying that always we have to respect ladies. We have to protect them always. I am a father of a 20-year-old girl right now. What I'm suggesting is you don't have to victimize yourself. Don't be a victim. If something happened to you, then and there you respond. Don't take it to here and there. And when you are a capacity to respond yourself, there'll be nothing against you. You must be strong. So we teach our girls that don't make any false allegation. If somebody did any against you, you just then and there. 𝔤𝔢𝔞𝔯𝔢𝔞 is the senior advocate of handling lot of matters she's handling, and she's specifically mentioned that, and even the MJ Akbar case and all, she's mentioned she's handling a lot of cases. She's very, very cool today. When she caught, she's really fighting for such rights. We watch. Anyway, thank you for this opportunity from this side. We'll have a detailed discussion. Time is expiring, so I'm just concluding. Thanks for inviting me for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak ji. Again, we are Saath, truly something so needed in today's day and age. And I would like to quickly mention, like you said, Ravi Anand ji was talking about facts and how evidence. In my own brother's case, who's been in prison for 14 years now, the rape kit was negative. He passed the lie detector test. All the evidence showed that he was innocent, but he was sentenced to 59 years in prison. And we have been fighting that, my mother and me, and this is in the US. And that's why when Geeta ji said that, I wanted to actually bring up the kind of problems we face in another country are far worse. I just wish Swaroop had stood strong, because with a father like you, I'm sure he would have proved himself. But now he still has you and everybody here. We are Saath and all the members who are here to support and make sure that we prove the right things in this forum. So I would like to thank We Are Saath once again. And, let's hope we are able to unify and take this to the next level. Thank you for having me here. This was really something very emotional. And PK Rajanji, I want to, from my heart, tell you that, it was heartbreaking, but this will make us stronger. And we will unify and fight this. We are Saath. I leave it over to you. And thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you very much. I think this the idea was coming from Sriram. Sriram was, we had discussed with Rajanji also. We can see him, the tears is in his eyes. Last time also, he's very emotional. But we are already given our all support to him and to coming to the very good conclusion. And Kanika, you can just have few words. And Kanika, where are you?
I'm here only, sir. I don't know what to speak right now. When Sriram sir proposed this idea of having a seminar, so I was in view like how to go ahead, and I was not a bit connected with this issue. But slowly, gradually, after talking to PK Ranjan sir, he himself being so positive soul and happy face that whenever I used to talk to him, he used to impart a very positive vibe to me. And sir, I don't know much what to say, but I assure you from the whole organization of We Are Saath that we are just a call away. Whenever you say whatever we can do from our part, we'll always do. And we're always there, and we'll standing here with you, and we'll try our best to have more discussions like this so that we can flip a coin and we can give this word as a sexual harassment as a gender equal word, not just a specific gender word. We'll try to take this issue in certain manner. I just had word with some of the people in this group also discussion that we can go ahead with some of the more sessions so that we can actually make this word as a gender neutral word. Everybody, whenever use this word as a sexual harassment, they should not have a view in the mind that it is the woman who is culprit. Then after that, it's a man who is a culprit. So no, it should not be the issue. It should be the gender equality thing. So I'll try, and the whole team of Saath will try to give a more light into it. And I assure sir that we'll always there with you. Thank you so much.
Vinod sir is there now. Vinod sir, I think sir is there. Sir,
yes.
We are
Vinod sir, he's a founder of a disaster management committee. So I request him to kindly say a few words on this.
Thank you very much. I was actually listening to the presentations by Advocate Geeta Luthra ji and Ms. Vani Sharma, and also what Dr. Sanjana John said. I'm sure that, what Mr. Rajan said is from his heart. He was actually trying to say something, how he feels about what his son had to go through. And what Mr. Ravi Anand said actually shows, the kind of person Mr. Swaroop Raj was. And, there's a lot of commitment and passion with which, Mr. Ravi Anand spoke about him and about the company. And he has been an associate vice president of GenPact. And, GE and Genpact have been actually as an MNC which has actually been trying to look at certain professional sides of the story about a corporate life. I'm sure that the MNC has been actually working in a professional manner in terms of my interactions with some of the the people in the company. I feel that actually what Mr. Ravi Anand said is the company itself should not be targeted in terms of what it is, but the people who are actually, accomplices to basically trying to create a situation by trying to use people to harm an individual would be something which we need to see. But at the same time, as a society, we must be conscious of the fact that both in sexual harassment allegations and in dowry harassment allegations, there are both sides of the story. Okay, we need to be conscious of the fact that there is a lot of gender-based violence which is happening. We have to be conscious of that. Even small girls are being targeted. And so we need to also be aware of that is what is happening. We've seen so many instances, in the Hathras case in UP, we've seen that, and we've seen in many other cases. So I think, what we need to see is to see that malicious prosecution does not happen. And to do that, we need to also have facts and evidence. And the jurisprudence actually provides that kind of a base. We need to have trust in the judiciary and the judicial system, but that there are aberrations everywhere. Okay, and in the system there are things which happen. We are aware of that. And Advocate Geeta Luthra talked about the police, how the police also become an instrument of coercion and also, victimizing people and also making them criminals or accusing them to be criminals. So I think these are all parts of the whole thing. So I would like to just mention that we understand it's a very complex problem, and without taking any, any kind of judgment, we cannot be judgmental about something without knowing the facts actually. And so I think, we have to basically understand that the situation would have actually created, a problem for an individual who was actually accused of, a misconduct. And then, it became such an important aspect which was actually threatening his own existence, in spite of the fact that he has been a very good performer and so on. So these are all facts which we would need to see. But I think that without being judgmental, I would like to say that there are both sides of the issue, and we understand the feelings of the people, and we hope and pray that there will be occasions where we will actually be able to have more strength of character in individuals, all of us, to basically be more sensitive to the problems around us and take stands without being judgmental. Thank you very much. I'll stop here.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we have Jyoti Tiwari ma'am also with us. She's closely connected with this issue. Ma'am, we would like to hear just a few words so that we can hear your view.
Yes. I am connected to this cause for the last 8 years. I lost my brother in 2012. It was a fake dowry and domestic violence case, and he didn't commit suicide. It was an accident, but I know what was going through in his mind when he was driving and all. So this is how I came into all this, and I then studied the laws and all, and I will be probably, taking admission in law college next year, just to, go into this more into it. So I know what is happening. I have gone through so much deep inside that I do not see the, that woman is, definitely something must have done, man must have something done. So when Swaroop committed suicide, I was so disturbed that day. I still remember that I was awake whole night and writing that article, through which I came to contact with many people. Sir, Ranjan sir, he shared that article, and this is how I came, into contact with him. So I just pointed out, because I'm a post trainer also, I pointed out all the, technical faults in his case. how he was humiliated and all. And I can understand a person who has never, I have heard so many views from, close people of, of Saru. So I can understand that what must, was going through in his mind, what he must be thinking. Because such a naive person, जो इतना सीधा होता है, जिसने लाइफ में ऐसा कभी सोचा नहीं होता कि this can happen to me. Suicide could be the only option इतने सीधे आदमी के लिए, ठीक है? So I didn't know him. Still, till date, I don't know him. Still, I can feel what he must have gone through. Because I have seen so many cases, and I know there is no suicide. When they say we have a suicide helpline and all that, no, there is nothing specific to men. Men and women are different. ये feminism भी मानता है. Men and women are different. They don't go by the same thing. Okay, this is very much incorporated in Indian societies and all. I don't know how this Western feminism is working and all. There is nothing specific to men is done in India, or I would say in West also. Still, there is some progress in, I would say Britain and US, but there is nothing done in India. There is no help available to men. Men specific help is nowhere. There is no DV law for men. There is nothing, can be done. As I heard his father saying, company is not doing anything. I have seen how corporates work when there is an allegation on a man. Everyone will see that man with a, this, that doubtful eyes. Ki isne kuch kiya hoga karke. So where will the man go? So I really feel very, very connected with the cause. Whatever I can do, I will do it, because I'm really concerned about all the people who are all the men who are trapped and their families. It should not happen to anyone, but it is happening now and then. It is really, really saddening, and I'm with you people. Whatever you are doing, I'm there.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was very heart-touching hearing this thing. So moving towards the end, I would like to invite Advocate Shriram sir. He's been there for organizing this seminar from day one. So I'll invite him to express his views and also to give our vote of thanks to everybody. Sir.
Thank you, Kanika. Thanks would be a very formal word. At the end of the day, I think it would be very much insufficient also. But since formality demands that I say a word of thanks, I would like to thank firstly Deepak Prakash for allowing VR Saath to be a host for this program. When we suggested it, he was very enthusiastic. I would like to thank Geeta Luthra ma'am. She's not here. She has had a webinar at 5 o'clock. Would like to thank Michael sir, who's here, who's been a very patient listener. To Bonnie ma'am, who has eruditely enlightened us. For Dr. Sanjana John, whose story is very similar to the story in this case. To the entire team of VR Saath. To Jyoti Tiwari, to Ravi Anandji, to listen to him was part of listening to a very daily to have you, who's always been guiding us. And in case I've left any name, that's just a matter of me forgetting it, and not that it's not relevant. As a part of my continuing legal education, I think this case, myself and my partner Vishnu Shankar, who is also here, I think he's also been a patient listener to the whole thing. But as a case which we both are doing, we have decided that our continuing legal education has taught us that a case is not only about the letters of law, but would also have stories of human beings. And this is one such case. It was also very interesting and very painful to listen to the story of Dr. Sanjana John. And in this note that, legal cases are also bundles of human emotions. I would wish to say thank you to everyone else. Let's keep fighting, both on the legal side, but also on the human side of each of these issues, and get a closure, get a balance to it at the end of the day. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
I'd like to sir was just calling me now. So I just forget this.
See, I'm sorry. I'm just going to say a big thank you also to the background work that has been done by Kanika. I have been incessantly in touch with her, and I think the amount of work she has put into this is, I mean, kudos to you, Kanika. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was all a team which we came this. I think yes, we have Michael sir also. We others. Sir, if you could just give a brief 2-line words to us. Sir, you are muted. You have to unmute your mic.
Not be may not be any formality, but it was very, very disturbing day. Right from the beginning, I think something like Madam Geeta Luthra almost her eyes were, wet. I think each one of them, when they spoke, each one of the speakers is very disturbing. Unfortunately, we are in a contemporary India, these sort of things are happening. It's very unfortunate. I thought insensitiveness has been something creeped into our minds. Be a police, be a civil servant, be a judiciary. If there is a sensitivity in us, which is what I think Ravi Anand was telling, boy, how proud of we. Then in Hindi, there's no word for diverse. First time I heard it and all. But so much is, I think we are we're deteriorated. That's what I'm really disturbed. I think certainly thanks to all those who are assembled here, keeping the voice of Swaroop and how noble man he has been, possibly he couldn't bear. I have read in Tamil literature, which says, when you can't beyond, it is not suicide, is something weakness, something can't bear it, then you end your life. Look to the north and end the life. That's what Sangam literature says. That's what I would say Swaroop couldn't bear. I think his father, when I think we could understand Mr. Rajan's pain. It's his pain is like our pain. There are only few cases which we have heard. I'm very disturbed. One of that Satankulam police incident, in which how the two father and son was dealt with and all. I think we have to train not only training, sensitivity in us, and let us be a human being, not like the Abhaya case. There are so many cases, and let us remain human because a human being and be light to those who wanted light. Thank you very much. It was a very disturbing day, but it's something to hear the voices, and we are all united as a Saath. I think we can do something for these people who's for their justice. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Prerna, you are there? Prerna?
Yes, sir.
Just conclude. We can finish our 1:45.
I would just like to conclude this session with I didn't think I was going to speak, so I'll just end my note with one small quote from Martin Luther King Jr. He said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." So if this has happened to one, it can happen to anyone. All of us need to be wary. All of us need to be considerate. All of us need to start sensitization. And that is what we are all about here at We Are Saath. We are here to give a voice to issues that have not been taken up before. And we will continue in our crusade for justice and the truth always. And we are so thankful that all of you have taken out the time to be a part of this discussion. Please stay in touch with the organization so that we can help spread awareness in a much more wider area. And thank you so much for coming. Have a great evening. Good night. Thank you.
Thanks one and all. Great.
Thank you to all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Thanks one and all. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Kanika and the entire team. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Anjata. Mute ആണ്.
ഹലോ
രാജേട്ടാ,
തണുപ്പ് എങ്ങനെയുണ്ട് അവിടെ?
ഞാൻ വിളിക്കാം. ഇത് അവര് കട്ട് ചെയ്തോട്ടെ, ഞാൻ വിളിക്കാം.
ഓക്കെ.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.